Lee, don't bother coming to the wedding next week. I nearly dropped my phone. My sister Linda's face glared at me from the screen. Why wouldn't I come to my own sister's wedding? Because you're an embarrassment. I can't let anyone see you as a part of my family, she spat out, her eyes cold and unyielding. My hand shook slightly, but I gripped the phone tighter. Linda, this is out of line. What have I ever done to you? Besides existing. You mean besides constantly looking like a bum and embarrassing us at every family gathering? She shook her head as if I was the one acting irrationally. You were always the disappointment, Lee. I don't need you ruining my perfect day. Wow, Linda, you always manage to find new ways to hurt me. My voice cracked. I hated letting her see she'd gotten to me, but it was difficult to maintain a stoic face. Just stay away, Lee. This isn't about you for once, she said, before ending the call abruptly. For a moment, I just stared at the dark screen, my reflection looking more tired than usual. I felt the burning salt of tears pooling in my eyes and angrily brushed them away. For as long as I could remember, Linda had always been the golden child. And me? I was the shadow, the invisible girl who never fit in my own home. I stepped outside into the cool evening air, hoping the crisp breeze would soothe my tangled thoughts. Everything Linda had said to me echoed in my mind. Why do I always let her get to me? I muttered under my breath. But then I thought about our parents' faces, disapproving, always finding some way to point out my flaws while praising Linda's accomplishments. My phone buzzed again, breaking me out of my reverie. It was a text from Tina, my best friend. Hey, want to grab a coffee? Need to vent. Seconds later, I was headed to our favorite spot. Hey, there you are? Tina greeted me with concern etched in her eyes. Linda just told me not to come to her wedding, I said, slamming myself down into the chair across from her. Tina's jaw fell open. Are you kidding me? That's beyond cruel, even for her. Yeah, she called me an embarrassment, I said, bitterness heavy in my voice. Lee, are you going to let them keep treating you like that? Tina's tone was fierce, yet filled with compassion. No. I shook my head, drawing strength from her support. I'm done caring what they think. I have better things to focus on. It's time I live for myself. Good. You deserve more than what they've ever given you, she said, squeezing my hand. And whatever happens, you've got me. I smiled for the first time in hours. As we talked about everything but my family, a warm reassurance filled me. Maybe it was time I turned the page. Tomorrow, Linda could enjoy her perfect world for all I cared, because as of today, I was done living in anyone else's shadow. Are you sure you're okay? Tina asked, her brows knitted with concern as she sipped her coffee. Yeah, just processing, I said, fidgeting with the lid of my cup. Linda's words were harsh, but they've helped me see things more clearly. Tina leaned forward, her eyes softening. How so? I realized I'm tired of being pushed around. I've always let my family's opinions shape how I see myself. It's exhausting and pointless. My voice steadied. I need to focus on things that actually matter. About time you see that. You're an amazing graphic designer, and you've done it all by yourself despite their lack of support, Tina said, her tone proud. I smiled weakly. Remember when my grandparents got me that first sketch pad? They were the only ones who believed in me. Tina chuckled. Yeah, they always had your back. They knew you had something special. Those were the best times, I said, memories flooding back. My grandparents had always been my safe haven amidst the chaos. They had nurtured my creativity when no one else had. Leah, you've built a career on your talent. Who cares what Linda or anyone else thinks? Besides, you have people who appreciate you, Tina said, giving my hand a reassuring squeeze. You're right, I said, determination bubbling inside me. Linda's wedding is just one day. It doesn't define me. I have so much more to look forward to. Tina's face lit up. That's the spirit. Now tell me more about this big project you're working on. Oh, Tom's company is expanding, and they need a complete rebranding. It's massive, but super exciting, I said, my mood lifting as we dived into designing ideas. As I left the coffee shop, the conversation lingered in my mind. It felt good to recognize my worth beyond my family's judgment. My phone buzzed with a message from Tom, reading, Leah, great work on the initial designs. Let's discuss further tomorrow. Keep it up. The small note of encouragement boosted my confidence even more. I walked into my apartment, energized and ready to dive back into my work. I pored over the designs, tweaking and perfecting until my eyes grew heavy. The next day at the office, Tom welcomed me with a warm smile. "Lee, I didn't know your sister is marrying into the Grayson family." I blinked, caught off guard. "The Graysons? My sister is marrying the CEO's son?" Tom nodded, seemingly amused. "Small world, isn't it?" "Yeah, very small," I murmured, the weight of this new information settling in. Linda's life was intersecting with mine in ways I hadn't anticipated. "Well, our project needs to shine even more now," Tom said, clapping a hand on my shoulder. "You up for it?" "Absolutely," I said, a fire igniting within me. It seemed fate had its plans, intertwining our paths once more. I couldn't wait to see where this led. I opened the door to my office and focused on the upcoming meeting with Tom, trying to shake off last night's revelation about Linda's fiancé, but as soon as I walked in, Tom's voice pulled me back into the drama. "Leah, great timing. Nathan Grayson is here, and I'd like you to meet him. He's interested in our designs," Tom said, waving me over. I gulped, my mind racing. Linda's fiancé was here, and I had to remain professional. "Sure, Tom," I replied, forcing a smile. Nathan stood as I approached. His handshake was firm, his smile genuine. "Nice to meet you, Leah. I've heard a lot about your work." "Thanks, Nathan. I've heard about you, too." "Congratulations on your engagement," I said, keeping my tone even. Nathan flashed a smile. "Thank you. Linda and I are very excited." "Well, let's get to it," Tom said, gesturing us toward the conference room. As we presented the designs, Nathan's enthusiasm was contagious. He asked insightful questions and offered thoughtful feedback. It was hard to connect this kind, intelligent man with Linda, whose cruel words still echoed in my head. We wrapped up and Tom left to take a call, leaving Nathan and me alone. He turned to me, his eyes thoughtful. "Lee, are you going to Linda's wedding?" I hesitated before answering. "Linda explicitly told me not to come," I said carefully. "Did she not tell you that?" Nathan looked genuinely confused. "No, she didn't mention anything about that. What's going on?" I took a deep breath, considering my next words carefully. "Let's just say, Linda and I don't see eye to eye on a lot of things." Nathan's brow furrowed. I knew she had some issues with her family, but I didn't realize it was this bad. "Why didn't you tell me earlier?" I shrugged, feeling old wounds resurface. "It's complicated, but, to be honest, I'm more focused on my work right now." "Well, I'd like you to be at the wedding. It would mean a lot to me and, I'm sure, to Linda as well." I doubted Linda would share his sentiment, but I nodded. "Thanks, Nathan. I'll think about it." After he left, I found it hard to concentrate on work. Should I go to the wedding? Expose Linda? I knew I had to talk to someone. I called Tom, my mentor and the one person whose counsel I trusted implicitly. "Tom, I need advice. Can we talk?" We met in his office later, the soft hum of the city outside his window. "Tom, can I trust Nathan with the truth about Linda?" I asked, my anxiety palpable. Tom leaned back, considering my question. "Trust your instincts, Leah. If he's the right person for her, he'll understand." His words resonated with me. Maybe it was time I confronted Linda, not just for myself, but for everyone she had hurt. The path ahead wasn't clear, but my resolve was. For once, it was time to stand up and face the storm head-on. The doorbell rang just as I was finishing up another set of designs for Tom. I wasn't expecting anyone, but when I opened the door, Nathan stood there, looking tense. "Nathan? What are you doing here?" "Lee, can we talk?" he asked, his face clouded with concern. I stepped aside, letting him in. "Sure, come in." We sat on my small couch, an awkward silence hanging over us. Finally, Nathan spoke. "Linda's been so different lately. She's always on edge, and now this thing with the wedding. Can you please help me understand what's going on?" "Nathan, Linda has always been difficult with me. She doesn't want me at the wedding because she thinks I'm an embarrassment." Nathan's eyes widened. "That's ridiculous. Why would she say that?" I shook my head. "We've never really gotten along. Our parents always favored her, and she made sure I felt it every day." "She never told me any of this," Nathan said, his voice full of disbelief and frustration. "I don't want our marriage to start with lies between us." "Nathan, look, I don't want to ruin anything for you. Maybe this isn't my fight. But it is your fight, Leah. And it's mine too, now. I love Linda, but I can't marry someone who harbors this much bitterness and lies to me about her family," he said, resolve hardening in his eyes. I sighed, the weight of years of mistreatment pressing down on me. "All right, I'll go to the wedding, but know that facing Linda won't be easy." Thank you, Lee. It's important. I'll make sure you're not alone in this, Nathan assured me, clasping my hand before leaving. The day of the wedding arrived faster than I'd hoped. My stomach churned with nerves, but I knew backing out wasn't an option. I stood outside the grand church, inhaling deeply before stepping inside. The place was already buzzing with guests. Linda's radiant smile dropped the moment she saw me. She marched over, her dress swishing with each angry step. "What are you doing here, Leah? Didn't I tell you not to come?" she hissed. "Nathan invited me, and I thought it was time everyone knew the real you, Linda," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Anger flashed in her eyes. "You wouldn't dare," she whispered. "It's time," I replied, matching her intensity. Nathan approached, sensing the tension. "Linda, we need to talk. Right now." She shot me a venomous look but followed him to a more private corner. Guests began murmuring, sensing the brewing storm. I followed them, my heart pounding. Nathan turned to her, his face troubled. "Why didn't you tell me about the way you treat Leah? This impacts who I thought you were." Linda's mask of sweetness cracked. "Nathan, she's just trying to ruin my day." "No, Linda, the truth was always bound to come out," I said, stepping forward. The confrontation drew eyes, and whispers spread like wildfire. Linda's carefully constructed image began to crumble, and for the first time, I felt a sense of liberation. Nathan nodded at me, his support unwavering. Despite the tension, I stood tall, ready to face whatever came next. Nathan's voice was firm as he confronted Linda. "I thought I knew you, Linda, but this cruelty towards Leah, I need to know the truth." Linda's eyes darted between Nathan and me, searching for an escape. "Nathan, you don't understand. She's always been jealous of me." "That's not true, Linda," I interjected. "I've only ever wanted to be accepted by my own family, but all you did was shove me aside." The guests nearby edged closer, eager to hear the unfolding drama. Linda's face twisted with rage. "This isn't the time or place for your sob story, Lee." A murmur ran through the crowd. Nathan placed a hand on her arm. "Linda, stop it. We need to resolve this now." "Resolve what?" she spat. "You're taking her side over mine? On our wedding day?" Nathan's eyes hardened. "It's not about sides, it's about truth. And I won't marry someone who can't even be honest with her own family." From the corner of my eye, I saw our parents approaching, faces pale. My mother went directly to Linda. "What's happening here? You two should be getting ready for the ceremony." "Mom, why is Leah even here?" Linda whined, turning back to her parents for support. "It was Nathan's decision," I said calmly, standing my ground. "And honestly, Mom, Dad, you've always let her treat me like dirt." My mother's eyes narrowed, but before she could speak, Nathan cut in. "This isn't about making scenes, it's about fixing what's broken. Right now, I can see there's a lot that needs fixing." People started whispering, questioning Linda's integrity. Her carefully planned day was unraveling, just like her calm facade. Seeing things escalate, I looked for Tom in the crowd, hoping to find someone who wasn't part of the chaos. He caught my eye and gave a reassuring nod. I approached him, hoping for some words of wisdom. "Tom, I need advice. Can I trust Nathan with the truth about Linda?" I asked quietly, feeling the weight of the situation. "You've known Nathan longer now, Lee. Trust your instincts. If he's the right person, he'll understand," Tom said, echoing his earlier advice with conviction. Reassured, I moved back toward the growing circle of family and guests. "Linda, this isn't just about today. It's about all the times you tore me down to feel better about yourself. I'm tired of it." Linda's expression shifted from anger to desperation. "You're ruining everything, Lee. Why couldn't you just stay away?" Nathan's gaze was fixed on Linda, unwavering. "Linda, I need you to come clean. To me, to everyone. This has to stop." Her shoulders slumped, realizing the mess she had created was too great to sweep under the rug. The room fell silent, anticipation hanging thick in the air. Linda began, her voice trembling. In that moment, it became clear that the truth was finally out, and the facade Linda had maintained for so long was collapsing. For the first time, she seemed truly vulnerable. And despite everything, I felt a pang of pity for her. As I stood there, I knew this was the turning point. Not just for Linda and me, but for Nathan too. He had to decide if honesty and integrity mattered more to him than an elaborate wedding. I hoped for all our sakes he chose wisely. Linda stammered, her voice cracking. "I've always felt like I had to be perfect, to outshine everyone, to be what everyone expected." Nathan's eyes softened, but he didn't let go of his resolve. And trampling over your sister was part of that? Tears welled up in Linda's eyes, and I could see her walls crumbling. Yes, it was. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry for everything. And you expect an apology to fix years of cruelty? I asked, my voice steady but filled with years of pent-up hurt. I don't know, Linda whispered. Nathan stepped closer, taking Linda's hands in his. Linda, I love you, but love needs trust and kindness. This is a lot to take in. Linda looked desperate. Nathan, please, don't leave me. We can work through this. Nathan took a deep breath, glancing towards the gathering of our extended family and friends. We need to be honest with everyone here first. He turned, addressing the room, his voice carrying over the murmurs. Everyone, there's been a misunderstanding that we need to clear up. Linda has admitted to some things that need to be addressed honestly. Whispers spread throughout the crowd. Linda's shoulders drooped. My parents stood by, their faces masks of confusion and frustration. I stepped forward. It's important for everyone to understand that Linda has treated me unfairly for many years. This isn't about the wedding. It's about setting things right. Linda finally seemed to accept the situation. She nodded slightly at Nathan and then faced the crowd. I haven't been the sister I should have been, and for that, I am truly sorry. The awkward silence that followed was thick, but necessary. I felt a strange mixture of vindication and sorrow. Nathan addressed the guests again. For now, we're putting the ceremony on hold. We'll figure things out, but it will take time. One by one, guests started to disperse, making space for the Manning family to process what had just unraveled. My parents were still in shock, their world of denial finally shattered. Linda stepped towards me, a tear sliding down her cheek. I know I've been horrible, Lee. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I am sorry. I nodded, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. Thank you for the apology, Linda. We'll see where things go from here. Nathan approached me, sincerity in his eyes. I appreciate your courage, Lee. You did the right thing. Thanks, Nathan. I hope you and Linda can find a way to work through this. As the guests filtered out, I saw Tom and Tina standing at the back, their expressions supportive. This was just the beginning of healing, but for the first time, it felt like the Manning family might find a path to real peace. Leaving the church, I felt a new sense of freedom. The truth was out, and the future was unwritten. It was up to me to decide where to go from here, and for once, that thought wasn't so daunting. The aftermath of the wedding that never was left the hall thick with tension. Nathan stood by, his face etched with disappointment. Linda was crumbling, her entire world unraveling in front of her eyes. Linda, I thought I knew you, Nathan began, his voice raw with betrayed trust. I can't marry someone with such a toxic heart. Linda's face turned a deep red, a cocktail of shame and fury battling inside her. Lay, how could you ruin my wedding? The truth needed to come out, I replied, firm but not unkind. I won't let you continue to hurt people. Linda trembled, her voice breaking. But this was supposed to be my perfect day. Nathan shook his head. A marriage based on lies can't start with a perfect day, Linda. It's better we found out now. Our parents stood off to the side, looking shell-shocked. My mother approached, her eyes pleading. Linda, what have you done? Linda avoided her gaze, unable to face the cumulative weight of her actions. I could see now more than ever how fragile she truly was. Turning to Nathan, my mother tried to reason. Nathan, please, this is all a misunderstanding. We can fix this. Nathan's face remained stoic. I need some time to process everything, he said, his tone final. I'm calling off the wedding for now. With Nathan's words, a collective gasp echoed through the hall. The guests exchanged looks of disbelief, unable to fathom the fallout they had just witnessed. Nathan turned to me. Lee, I'm sorry you had to go through all this. Thank you for being honest. I nodded, feeling a strange mix of relief and sorrow. I hope this helps everyone move forward, Nathan. As the hall emptied, Linda slumped into a nearby chair, staring blankly at nothing in particular. The carefully constructed world she had built was in ruins, and it showed. I approached her cautiously. Linda, maybe this is the wake-up call you needed. Maybe now you can find a way to be genuinely happy. She didn't respond, her eyes filled with tears. For once, she seemed to grasp the gravity of her actions. Outside, the sun was starting to set, casting long shadows on everything. I found Tom and Tina waiting for me, their faces a mix of worry and pride. It's done. I'm finally free from their judgment, I said, breathing deeply. You did the right thing, Lee. It took a lot of courage, Tina said, giving me a tight hug. Tom nodded. This will all settle in time, and you'll come out stronger. As I walked away from the hall, a strange sense of calm settled over me. This chapter of my life was closing, and though the future was uncertain, I was ready to embrace it without the weight of past burdens. I knew there would be more difficult conversations ahead, especially with my family, but the hardest part was over. Now, it was time to focus on my happiness, my career, and the people who truly valued me. For the first time, I felt like I was stepping into the light after years of being in the shadows, and that, I knew, was the beginning of something new. A week after the wedding fiasco, I found myself back in the coffee shop with Tina. The air felt lighter, as if a heavy storm had finally passed. So, how are you feeling now that the dust has settled? Tina asked, taking a sip of her coffee. It's strange, I admitted, stirring my cup absent-mindedly. Relieved, mostly, but also a bit sorry for Linda. She's been hiding behind her persona for so long. Tina nodded thoughtfully. People like Linda don't change overnight, but at least you're free from her control. I nodded, agreeing. True, I just hope she finds a way to be better. Tina reached across the table, giving my hand a squeeze. Enough about her. Let's focus on you. What's your next big move? I got an exciting offer from Tom, I began, a smile spreading across my face. He wants me to lead a major project that could take my career to the next level. That's amazing, Leah, Tina exclaimed. See? You're already moving forward and doing incredible things. It feels good, I confessed. Like I'm finally stepping into my own light. Later that day, I walked into Tom's office, brimming with anticipation. He greeted me with his usual warm smile. Leah, your work on the designs has been outstanding. I have a proposition for you. I leaned in, intrigued. What's that? I want you to head our new branding project. It's a big responsibility, but I believe in your capabilities, Tom said, his eyes radiating trust. A surge of pride and excitement flowed through me. I'd love to, Tom. Thank you for this opportunity. He nodded. Well deserved, Leah. You've proven your worth time and again. As I left his office, I felt a strong sense of accomplishment. Turning a corner, I almost bumped into Nathan. Nathan, hey, how have you been? I asked, genuinely curious. I've been better, honestly, he admitted, shrugging. But I'm figuring things out. How about you, Lee? How are you holding up? Better than ever, actually. I've got a new project, and it feels like a fresh start, I replied, smiling. He returned the smile, albeit faintly. Good to hear. Thanks for your honesty that day. It was hard, but necessary. Sometimes the hardest things to hear are the most important, I said softly. I hope everything turns out okay for you. I'm sure it will in time, Nathan said, giving me a nod before walking away. That evening, as I sat on my balcony looking at the starry sky, I felt an overwhelming sense of freedom. I had faced my fears head-on and come out stronger. The future was wide open, full of possibilities. I called Tina, eager to share the news. Tina, guess what? I'm leading the new project at Tom's, she squealed with excitement. Leah, that's incredible. You deserve it more than anyone. Thanks, Tina, for everything. For always being there, I said, gratitude filling my voice. Always, Leah. Now go conquer the world. As I hung up, I leaned back and closed my eyes, feeling the cool night breeze. The ties that once bound me were shattered, and with them, a new journey had begun. It felt like the start of something truly beautiful.
What does it feel like to be the punchline of your own family's laughter? To stand on the edge of their gilded world? Knowing a secret that could shatter their smug certainty I'm about to find out. My name is Stella Hargrove, 35. And 2 months ago, I was the principal software architect at Stratastech, a rising star in Chicago's tech scene. Tonight, I'm the cautionary tale at the Harrow family reunion, a yearly spectacle of wealth and one-upmanship in my uncle's palatial backyard. The air hums with the clink of crystal glasses and the murmur of success stories. But all eyes skirt me. The woman who dared to fall. The koi pond glimmers under string lights, its surface rippling as I swirl my untouched sparkling cider. My cousins dominate the evening, their voices sharp with triumph. Jessica, newly minted partner at a top law firm. recounts a courtroom victory with a practiced smile. Her words slicing through the crowd's murmurs. Evan, her brother, a venture capitalist, holds court near the marble fountain, boasting of a $200 million acquisition he brokered. His laughter loud enough to turn heads. Trevor, younger and brasher, lounges by the catered spread, tossing out quips about his startup's latest funding round. They're a polished trio, basking in the family's approval, while I'm the shadow they avoid until they can't resist a jab. Stella, Evan's voice cuts through the chatter, dripping with false warmth, loud enough to draw smirks. Come join us. We're talking career pivots. His grin is a blade, honed over years of watching me toil in code while he schmoozed investors. I step forward, feeling the weight of every gaze. The whispers of poor Stella rustling like dry leaves. Jessica tilts her head, her smile saccharine. How's unemployment treating you? I heard StratStack cut you loose in a budget downsizing. Tech's so unstable. Isn't it? The word unstable lands like a barb. And Trevor snickers, his youthful arrogance practically glowing. I let their words hang, my fingers brushing the phone in my pocket. It's 5:57 p.m. Central Time. And something is stirring in the digital ether, a truth they can't imagine. I've spent years building, not boasting, crafting solutions while they chase titles. Evan leans in, his voice mock kind. You know, real innovation is about foresight. Stella, maybe coding's better left to the kids. The crowd chuckles, but I hold his gaze, my lips curving faintly. They think they've won, that I'm broken, discarded. They don't know what's coming. My phone vibrates softly, a silent pulse against my palm. I glance at the screen, 5:58 p.m., 2 minutes until the world shifts. I take a slow sip of cider, the bubbles sharp on my tongue, and let the moment, the family's laughter echoes. But it's hollow, fragile. Somewhere in StratStack's sleek servers, a clock is ticking. I've been underestimated before. But tonight, I'm not just Stella, the failed coder. I'm the architect of a reckoning. And the stage is set for a truth they won't escape. 4 years ago, in a cramped Chicago apartment lit by the glow of my monitor, I began a project that would redefine my life. While StratStack's executives chased quarterly profits, I poured my nights into Sentinel, an adaptive AI security platform designed to outthink cyber threats in real time. I was 31 then, a principal software architect who believed code could be more than a paycheck. It could be a legacy. Sentinel wasn't just software, it was a vision of resilience, a system that learned faster, defended smarter, and grew stronger with every attack. Line by line, I built it on my laptop, my dime, away from StratStack's prying eyes. The tech world was obsessed with flashy apps and cheap scalability. But I saw a different future. Cyber attacks were evolving, outpacing human defenders. And I wanted Sentinel to be the shield no hacker could breach. Its algorithms could predict threats before they struck, adapting to new patterns with a precision that felt almost alive. I tested each module in my spare hours, refining firewalls, embedding redundancies, my coffee mugs piling up as dawn broke over Lake Michigan. But I wasn't naive. I'd seen developers betrayed, their work swallowed by corporate greed. So I wove a failsafe into Sentinel's core, a verification protocol, invisible, dormant, set to activate only if someone tried to claim my creation. 2 months ago, that foresight proved its worth. Sterling Cross, StratStack's new CEO, summoned me to his glass-walled office, his eyes barely lifting from his emails. Stella, he said, voice flat. We're pivoting. The board wants consumer-focused apps. Your security project's canceled. I started to explain Sentinel's potential, its ability to protect entire networks, its unmatched adaptability. He cut me off with a wave. We've sold the code to a private defense group. You're being let go. The words landed like a blow, but I saw them coming. I'd coded for this moment from the first line. The next day, headlines blared, StratStack secures $1.2 billion defense contract with breakthrough AI technology. My life's work. Sold without a nod to me. I signed their airtight NDA. My signature steady. Because I knew something Sterling didn't. Sentinel wasn't just code. It was a witness. Programmed to expose theft. I'd developed it independently. Outside company hours. On my equipment. To use StrataStack's servers for testing. I'd secured Sterling's written approval and email. Time-stamped and signed. Granting permission without claiming ownership. That email was my shield. Preserving my rights. I also held 17 patents. Filed quietly over the years. Covering every critical piece of Sentinel's architecture. Each one was a brick in the fortress I'd built. Ensuring no one could steal what I'd created. When Sterling sold Sentinel, he triggered the failsafe. A digital trap that recorded every false claim. Every attempt to erase my name. It lay dormant. Waiting for the perfect moment, an automated system update set for tonight. 6:0 p.m. Central Time. When StrataStack's servers would broadcast the truth to the world. Back then, as I coded alone, I wasn't thinking of revenge. I was thinking of every developer who'd lost their work to a suit's ego. Every idea buried under an NDA, Sentinel was my answer. Not just to hackers, but to a system that rewarded theft over creation. I poured 5 years into it every night. Every weekend. Every quiet moment when the world slept. While Sterling posed at tech conferences. I debugged algorithms. While Evan brokered deals. I fortified firewalls. My apartment became a sanctuary of code. Its walls echoing with the hum of my determination. Now, standing in my uncle's backyard, the weight of those years feels light. My phone is silent, but I know what's coming. The family's laughter. Their taunts are just noise. Sentinel is my voice. And it's about to speak louder than they can imagine. I've protected what I built. Not with bravado, but with patience. With strategy. The clock is ticking. And I'm ready to show them what a builder can do. Have you ever stood in a crowd? Their laughter a cage. And felt the precise moment the world tilts in your favor. That's where I am now. 5:58 p.m. Central Time. The Chicago sunset painting my uncle's backyard in amber. Evan's smirk gleams as he leans forward. His voice a velvet taunt. Stella, coding's a young man's game. Why not try something steadier? The family chuckles, their eyes glinting with pity. But I feel a spark of certainty. My phone hums in my pocket. A quiet herald of what's coming. I've waited years for this. And the countdown is nearly over. Jessica sips her cider. Her lawyer's poise unshaken. Any job offers yet? Stella, I hear diners need dishwashers. Trevor snorts, tossing a shrimp skewer onto his plate. His confidence a mirror of Evan's. The crowd's attention tightens, waiting for me to crumble. Instead, I smile, slow and deliberate. My voice cutting through the evening's hum. Why don't we all pull out our phones? The next few minutes might get interesting. Jessica's eyes narrow. Evan laughs a brittle sound and Trevor scoffs. What? Another failed app launch. Their dismissals are a chorus. But I'm the conductor now. I glance at my watch, 5:59 p.m., 1 minute until Sentinel's failsafe. Buried deep in StrataStack's servers. Springs to life. I've orchestrated this moment with precision. Every line of code a thread in a tapestry of truth. The family's phones rest in their hands. Screens dark. Unaware of the storm about to break, I take a step closer to Evan. My voice steady. You talk about foresight. Evan, let's see who's got it. His grin falters. A flicker of doubt crossing his face. Then it happens 6 sunrose or p.m. sharp. My phone buzzes first. A single vibration that feels like a heartbeat. Then Jessica's. Evan's. Trevor's. And a ripple of dings cascades across the yard. Like pebbles striking a still pond. Screens light up with breaking news banners. Their red alerts searing the dusk. StrataStack stock halted amid code ownership scandal. One reads, another Department of Defense suspends $1, $2 billion contract pending investigation. Gasps punctuate the air. Evan's fingers freeze mid-swipe. his face paling. Jessica's glass trembles. Cider sloshing onto her silk dress. Trevor barks. What the hell is this? I set my drink on a stone table. The clink loud in the sudden hush. Oh, just a tiny system update, I say. My tone light but edged with steel. The family's eyes lock on me. Their smugness unraveling. Aunt Meredith clutches her pearls. Her phone flashing another alert. Exclusive Strat-Stack engineer behind Sentinel's core development. Evan's voice is a whisper now. Stripped of its swagger. Stella, what did you do? I meet his gaze. Unyielding. The truth is out. And it's rewriting their narrative. Phones keep buzzing. Each notification a hammer striking their certainty. I stand at the center of their stunned silence. The backyard's opulence fading against the weight of this moment. Sentinel has spoken. Its verification protocol broadcasting my name across the digital world. I've turned their laughter into a footnote. And the real story is just beginning. As the skyline glitters beyond the hedges, I know Strat-Stack's towers are trembling. And I'm ready to show them why you never underestimate a builder. The backyard is a frozen tableau. My family's faces caught between shock and dread as their phones pulse with revelations. I pull my battered laptop from my bag. Its worn keys a testament to years of unseen work. "Want to see?" I ask. My voice calm but resonant. Carrying over the murmurs, they crowd around. Silent now. Their earlier taunts swallowed by the truth unfolding. I log into a secure feed, and Sentinel's verification protocol fills the screen. A cascade of code dates, signatures, embedded markers, each line a brick in the monument of my creation. This, I say, pointing to the scrolling data, is 5 years, 2 months, and 19 days of my life. The timestamps glow, tracing every keystroke back to me. Undeniable proof that Sentinel is mine. I click another window, revealing Sterling Cross's email, digitally signed, permitting me to test Sentinel on Strat-Stack's servers. They didn't own it. I explain. My words measured. I built Sentinel on my own time. My gear. This email ensured my rights. Evan leans closer, his breath catching as the scope dawns. Jessica's lawyer instincts flicker, but she's speechless. Swiping frantically through news alerts, I open a folder, 17 patent certificates, each bearing my name, covering Sentinel's algorithms and protocols. When Sterling sold my work for $1, $2 billion, he triggered the failsafe. I continue. It recorded every lie, every attempt to erase me. Waiting for tonight's update to expose him. Trevor's voice cracks. But they fired you. They owned your code. Right? I shake my head. A faint smile tugging at my lips. Wrong. They sold something they didn't understand. And now the world knows. Aunt Meredith gasps as her phone buzzes again. Strat-Stack faces. Federal investigation over code ownership scandal. Evan's eyes widen. The venture capitalist calculating the fallout. The billion-dollar contract. He mutters, "It's built on stolen tech." I nod, sipping my cider. It's chill grounding me. Fraud's bad for business. Their stock's going to crater when markets open. Trevor stares at his screen, disbelief etching his features. "This is insane," he whispers, his bravado gone. I close my laptop, the click echoing in the hush, while Sterling posed for photos and your investments chased hype. Evan, I was building something real. Every night, every debugged line, every patent filed in secret. That's what innovation looks like. Jessica's fingers hover over her phone. A new alert flashing, Strat-Stack CEO under scrutiny for IP theft. She meets my gaze, her poise crumbling. "You planned this," she says. Almost admiringly, I shrug. Letting the moment settle, I protected what's mine, the family's world, once so polished. Frays at the edges, their laughter, their titles, their certainty all dwarfed by the truth I've unleashed. Beyond the backyard, Chicago's skyline pulses, a silent witness to Strat-Stack's unraveling. My phone vibrates again. Sterling's name flashing. I decline the call without a glance. My focus on the faces before me, They underestimated me. But Sentinel's code is my voice, and it's louder than their scorn. As the alerts keep coming, I know this is just the beginning, a reckoning for those who steal from builders, and a beacon for those who dare to create. Can a single moment rewrite an industry's rules, topple giants, and lift the silence to the forefront as the Chicago night deepens? My family's stunned silence tells me it can. My laptop is closed, but the backyard hums with the aftershocks of Sentinel's truth. Phones buzz relentlessly, each alert a crack in StratStack's facade. I stand under the string lights, their glow casting long shadows, and feel the weight of a world shifting. The news banners keep coming. StratStack CEO faces criminal probe. Investors pull funding, and I know Sterling Cross is staring at the ruins of his ambition. His glass-walled office, no match for the code I crafted. My phone vibrates with a new message. Not from Sterling, but from Sarah Martinez, Oracle's CEO. Impressive authentication protocol. Dinner next week to discuss Sentinel's potential. I tilt the screen toward Evan, whose eyes widen, his venture capitalist instincts grasping the shift. Oracle, he mutters, his voice tight. I nod, letting the moment sink in. The family's polished image frays further as Jessica's phone flashes another alert. Google launches code attribution review. Her law firm, caught in the ripple, demands she step down pending investigation. She looks at me, her earlier smugness replaced by a flicker of respect. You've changed everything. She whispers. Trevor, usually brash, scrolls through headlines in silence. His illusion of easy success crumbling. StratStack, bankruptcy looms. One reads, and he shakes his head, muttering, their stock's done. Aunt Meredith fumbles with her phone, coordinating with PR to salvage the family's reputation. But the damage is done. My phone lights up again. Reporters, lawyers, investors, all clamoring for a piece of the story. I ignore them, my gaze drifting to the skyline, where StratStack's headquarters flicker, their lights dimming under the weight of truth. Then, a familiar voice breaks through. Stella Jimmy Chen, a junior developer from StratStack, steps from the shadows. His grin wide, he holds up his phone, showing a sleek website, the Sentinel Protocol. After your code exposed Cross, we started this. He says, eyes alight. Developers worldwide are sharing stories, stolen work. Erased credits? We're demanding recognition. I scroll through the site, seeing hundreds of voices, each a thread in a growing rebellion. A coder in Seattle. Her app was claimed by her boss. A team in Austin. It's AI buried under NDAs. You inspired this, Jimmy adds. And I feel a surge of pride. Not just for me, but for every builder who's been overlooked. The family watches, their world of titles and investments dwarfed by this movement. Evan's phone rings a panicked investor. No doubt, but he doesn't answer. His gaze fixed on me. Why wait? He asks. Voice raw. Why let them fire you? I pause. The question echoing every developer's stolen dream. Because truth needs witnesses, I say. And sometimes, the loudest justice is the one you build quietly. Jimmy nods, his phone buzzing with new posts on the Sentinel Protocol. Each one a spark in a fire I've ignited. As the night settles, Chicago's pulse feels different, alive with possibility. StratStack's collapse is just the start. The industry is waking up, and I'm at its center. Sarah's email glows on my screen, a promise of what's next. I slip my phone into my pocket, the weight of this moment grounding me. The family's laughter is a distant memory, replaced by a chorus of builders demanding their due. I've turned code into a revolution, and the world is listening. 1 month later, I sit in Oracle's glass-walled boardroom, the Chicago skyline a glittering backdrop. Sarah Martinez addresses the board, her voice steady as she gestures to a screen where Sentinel dances, defending Oracle's global network in real time. In 4 weeks, she says, Sentinel neutralized 200 cyber attacks, adapted to 19 new threat models, and slashed response time by 87%. Board members, once skeptical, Lean forward. Their nods a quiet applause. One asks, "You built this alone?" I smile. The memory of late nights and solitary debugging. Vivid. Nights. Weekends. My equipment. Not a line belongs to Stratostech. Sarah turns to me. Her eyes bright. "Shall we make it official?" The board's vote is unanimous. And by evening, the news hits Oracle acquires Sentinel for $4, $2 billion. Names engineer as CTO. I'll oversee Sentinel's integration. My vision now shielding networks worldwide. My phone hasn't stopped buzzing since the scandal broke journalists want interviews. Congressional committees seek testimony on IP theft. But the messages that matter most come from developers. Hundreds share stories of stolen ideas. Their words a tide of defiance. Sentinel isn't just code. It's a symbol. A quiet rebellion against an industry that too often buries its builders. Back in the city, I pass Stratostech's darkened headquarters. Its windows like empty eyes. Bankruptcy proceedings choke its halls. And Sterling's name is a cautionary tale. Yet amid the rubble, something grows. Jimmy's Sentinel protocol has swelled. A global network of coders documenting their work, exposing theft, and demanding respect. I've pledged Oracle's ethics board to support it, amplifying a movement that's rewriting tech's rules, new standards for code attribution, stronger protections for creators. My family, too, has shifted. Evan calls one evening. His voice strained. My firm's bleeding investors. He admits, "I didn't see what builders like you do." I offer to connect his engineers to Oracle's expanding team. A lifeline for those he once overlooked. Jessica texts. Her words raw. Real power isn't taking credit. It's creating something that matters. She's navigating her firm's fallout. But her perspective has changed. Rooted in respect for creation, Trevor, once all bravado, messages me. "Starting coding classes? Mentor me, I want to build something real." I reply. Lesson 1. Success is in the work, not the spotlight. Next week, I'll testify before Congress. My voice carrying the weight of every developer who's been erased. But tonight, I'm home. My old laptop open. Its familiar hum a comfort. Sentinel now guards critical systems, thwarting thousands of attacks. But its true impact is the awakening it sparked. I open a new project file, and the cursor is blinking like a star. The Chicago skyline shimmers outside, a canvas of possibility. I'm no longer the woman they laughed at. I'm a change maker, proving that power lies in what you build, not what you claim. This isn't just my story, it's yours. 2. If you've ever been underestimated, your work stolen, your voice ignored, I see you. The creators grinding through late nights, the builders whose ideas fuel the future. Share your story below. Have you fought for your work? Prove them wrong. Let's make a space where builders are seen, heard, and respected. Protect what you create. Stay patient, strategic, and true to your craft. The world may not see your worth at first, but real value shines in time. We are the makers, turning dreams into reality. Don't let anyone steal that. If you believe in a future where creators are valued, like, comment, and subscribe. Your voice matters. Let's build something better. Together. As I type the first line of my new project, the city hums beyond my window, alive with the promise of what's next. Every line of code tells a story. Mine rewrote the rules, and yours can too. What if the life you'd built, every meal cooked, every smile shared, every dream woven crumbled in a single click? 3 days before my 32nd birthday, I sat frozen in our suburban Midwest home, staring at a computer screen that shattered my world. My name is Sydney Miller, and this is the story of how I lost everything and found myself. It began in the quiet of our shared home office, where a forgotten login unveiled a truth so cruel it would propel me across an ocean, away from the man I'd loved for 12 years, toward a future I never dared imagine. If you've ever felt the sting of betrayal or the spark of defiance, stay with me. This is a tale of survival, reinvention, and the sweetest victory of all. The email glowed on the monitor, a sickening beacon in the dim light. EMTT. My husband had left his account open, a rare slip for a man meticulous about his secrets. The subject line from someone named Phoebe read, "Can't wait for this weekend." My fingers hovered over the keyboard, a cold wave washing over me. I clicked, and my heart sank. Once she's out of the picture, we can finally stop sneaking around. The words seared into my mind. Each one a blade, I scrolled through 3 years of lies' intimate messages. Hotel receipts. Photos of them laughing in places I'd never been. My hands trembled as I forwarded every damning thread to my email. One EMTT knew nothing about. The hum of the computer was the only sound in the room. A stark contrast to the chaos in my chest. I heard his key in the front door, and my pulse surged. Quickly, I closed the browser, my heart hammering against my ribs. EMTT walked in, his familiar grin masking the stranger he'd become. I greeted him with the same kiss I'd offered for over a decade, my lips steady despite the storm within. He never suspected the fracture forming beneath my calm facade. Over dinner, he mentioned casually, working late again tomorrow, big project deadline. His eyes avoided mine, and I nodded, watching him twirl pasta around his fork. Of course. "Honey," I replied, my voice smooth as glass. How many deadlines had been nights tangled in Phoebe's arms? The lie slipped from him as easily as breath. And I wondered when I'd become so invisible. That night, I lay beside him, the ceiling a canvas for my racing thoughts. When did our love fade into this charade? What had I done to deserve such betrayal? The questions swirled, then dissolved into a singular truth: I deserved better. The realization was both terrifying and liberating, a spark in the darkness of my marriage. I wasn't just a wife scorned, I was a woman awakening. Before I continue, let me pause to invite you to join our community of survivors and thrivers. If stories of women rising from betrayal resonate with you, subscribe. It's free and connects you to thousands who know that living well is the truest revenge. My journey was just beginning, and the next revelation would push me to the edge. The air in our suburban cul-de-sac felt heavier, as if it knew the weight of what was coming. I'd spent the night wrestling with EMTT's betrayal, the emails from Phoebe looping in my mind like a cruel refrain. But nothing could have prepared me for the moment I overheard their plan, a prank so vicious it would shatter any lingering hope for our marriage. In that instant, I knew I wouldn't just leave. I'd vanish, rewriting my story on my terms. I left work early, my stomach churning from sleeplessness and stress. Our house sat at the end of a quiet street, all manicured hedges and 2-car garages, but EMTT's car was parked out front, hours before he should have been home. Instinct prickled my skin, and I pulled into our neighbor's empty driveway instead of ours, slipping toward the side entrance. I heard voices from the back patio, EMTT's laugh, sharp and carefree, followed by others. I crouched beneath the dining room window, my breath shallow, and peered over the sill. 4 figures lounged around our patio table, sipping the bourbon I'd gifted EMTT for Christmas. EMTT, Phoebe, and his oldest friends, Finn and Luca. Luca's wife was absent, likely as clueless as I'd been until yesterday. "So, it's settled then," Finn said. His voice slurred. The birthday surprise Luca smirked, though his tone feigned concern. "You sure this isn't too harsh?" EMTT shook his head, his grin cold. "It's perfect. We blindfold her, drive her around for an hour, and dump her at that old gas station on Route 16, 5 miles out. By the time she stumbles back, she'll get the message." Phoebe's hand slid onto his thigh. "That you're done playing house with your boring wife." My stomach clenched as EMTT leaned over to kiss her, right there on the patio furniture I'd chosen. "She's been so clingy." He sighed. "Always asking where I've been. This'll shake her up enough that when I ask for a divorce, she won't fight it." Phoebe's face lit up. "Then we can stop hiding." Finn raised his glass, and they clinked in agreement. their laughter a dagger in my chest. I sank against the siding, my heart pounding in my ears. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a calculated plot to break me, to make me pliable for EMTT's escape. Their confidence in my helplessness burned, but it also ignited something fierce within me. I wouldn't be their punchline. That night, as EMTT came to bed reeking of bourbon and deceit, my decision crystallized. I'd let them play their cruel game, but I'd be the one to rewrite the ending. The path ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. I was done being Sydney Miller, the overlooked wife. A new chapter was waiting, and I'd write it with my hand. The dawn of my birthday broke with a deceptive calm, the Midwest sky blushing pink beyond our bedroom curtains. I lay awake beside EMTT, his steady breathing a cruel reminder of the life I was about to leave. Their plan to abandon me at a desolate gas station loomed, but I'd turned their cruelty into my opportunity. For 2 days, I'd moved like a shadow, gathering fragments of a new beginning documents, heirlooms, cash each step a quiet rebellion against the humiliation they'd scripted. Today, I'd play their game, but on my terms, stepping out of their story and into my own. I rose early, my suitcase already hidden in the closet's depths, packed with essentials, my parents' photographs, my grandmother's sapphire necklace, our marriage certificate to prove what I was leaving behind. Over the past days, I'd siphoned $5,000 from our joint account, small withdrawals to avoid suspicion, each dollar a brick in my escape. In the bathroom, with the shower running to mask the sound, I'd called an Uber, arranging a pickup at the Route 16 gas station at noon, offering extra cash for the odd location. The driver's confusion didn't deter me. I'd be there, ready to vanish. In the kitchen, I made EMTT's favorite breakfast pancakes with strawberries and whipped cream. My hands steady despite the storm within. He bounded downstairs, his smile smug. "Happy birthday, babe," he said, kissing my cheek. Big surprise planned. I forced a grin, my voice light. "Can't wait." At 11, the doorbell chimed. Finn and Luca stood on the porch, their grins wide. A gift bag in Finn's hand. Inside was a silk scarf, its irony sharp. "This would be my blindfold. It's beautiful," I said, fingers tracing the fabric. Luca's eyes gleamed. "EMTT wants you to wear it for the surprise." I handed it to EMTT, turning my back. "Tie it." "Honey." His fingers knotted it securely. The world fading to darkness, they guided me to the car, their laughter barely concealed. The drive stretched. 47 minutes by my count. Disorienting as intended. Gravel crunched under my shoes as EMTT led me out. The air thick with old gasoline and dust. "Ready for your surprise?" Finn called, voice thick with mirth. I nodded, heart thundering. Rough hands Luca's. I guessed spun me 3 times. Then EMTT yanked off the blindfold. The gas station was a ruin, 5 miles from nowhere. Its shattered windows gaping like wounds. "Surprise," they shouted. Doubling over with laughter, I feigned confusion. "What's happening?" EMTT's eyes were cold, a test of your resourcefulness. Finn dangled my phone, taken from my purse. "No cheating. You can't leave me here," I pleaded, voice trembling for effect. "It's my birthday." EMTT hesitated, a flicker of guilt, but Finn's hand on his shoulder erased it. "Find your way home, Sydney." He called as they piled into the car. Dust swirled as they sped off, their laughter fading. I waited until their car vanished, then checked my watch. 11:47. My 13 minutes until my Uber. Behind the building, I pulled $800 from my boot, changed into jeans, a t-shirt, and a baseball cap from my purse. At noon, a blue sedan rolled in. Mrs. Reynolds, the driver, called. Wary, I waved, emerging from the shadows. "Thanks for coming." He frowned but nodded. Where to, I slid into the back seat. My old life shrinking in the rear view. Marston Pawn, downtown. The pawn shop's air was thick with the scent of polished metal and regret. "Mr. Marston," his hands gnarled by arthritis, studied me over half-moon glasses as I laid my grandmother's necklace, my engagement ring, wedding band, and emerald earrings on the counter. "What's this worth?" I asked. My voice steady despite the ache of parting with pieces of my past. He examined each item, his silence heavy. "Fine jewelry." He murmured, holding the ring to the light. "Family heirlooms," I nodded. "Some." After a pause, he offered 7 Sarn dollars. "More than fair. They mean more than money." He added, but my expression must have spoken louder. He returned from the back with a small handgun, sliding it across. "A woman alone needs protection. It's legal." I met his sad smile, tucking the gun deep in my purse. "Thank you." At the bus station, I bought a ticket to New York City. The overnight ride a bridge to my next leap, using cash and my maiden name. I'd booked a flight to Paris through a discreet travel agency, with a layover in Iceland to blur my trail. At JFK, security barely glanced at my passport. I mailed the gun ahead to a French post office box, arranged online. Hours later, I was airborne. America fading beneath clouds, Paris greeted me with the clamor of Montmartre. My hostel, a creaking refuge with a narrow bed and thin windows. That first night, I sat on the mattress, the city's pulse filtering in French chatter, distant accordion notes, the warm scent of bread from the bakery below. I'd done it. I was free, but terror gripped me. No job, no plan, dwindling funds, and a language I barely spoke. Yet, hadn't I been alone for years? Unseen in my marriage the next morning, I faced reality. My $7,000 wouldn't last long in Paris. At the third employment agency, a stern woman, Madame Rousseau, scanned my sparse resume, crafted to hide my past. "Your French is minimal," she noted in accented English. "I'm learning fast," I countered. She sighed, offering a temporary receptionist job at Lambert Financial for English-speaking clients. 3 months. If they like you, maybe permanent. I nodded eagerly. A lifeline in a foreign sea. The office, on the 3rd floor of a modest building in the 8th arrondissement, was small but polished. My desk, a wooden fortress, greeted visitors. Each morning, I practiced bonjour, Lambert Financial. My accent clumsy but determined. Giselle, my supervisor, was initially frosty, muttering about Americans taking French jobs, but my persistence softened her. "Your pronunciation." She winced one day as I botched a client's name. At lunch, she offered to teach me, correcting my grammar between sandwich bites. In return, I stayed late, polishing her English reports. Nights found me at a bookstore's language exchange meetups, trading phrases with expatriates and locals, building a fragile social web while guarding my past. My studio apartment, rented with the last of my pawn money, became a sanctuary. I wrote new French words nightly, each one a shield against the life I'd fled. Paris was daunting, but its lights promised possibility, and I was learning to claim it, one careful step at a time. My tiny Parisian apartment, with its peeling wallpaper and creaking floorboards, was no longer just a refuge. It was a launch pad. 3 months into my receptionist role at Lambert Financial, I'd carved a foothold in a city that once felt like a labyrinth. The French phrases I'd scribbled nightly now rolled off my tongue, and the office's polished chaos had become my proving ground. I wasn't just surviving, I was building, brick by determined brick, a life beyond the shadows of my past. But it was a single moment of courage, a quiet observation, that would propel me from the front desk to a world I'd never dared dream. Sorting mail one morning, I spotted a duplicated invoice, a $45 error that had slipped through the cracks. My pulse quickened, but I knocked on Philippe Lambert's door, the founder's stern gaze meeting mine. I noticed something in the accounts, I said, laying out the mistake. His annoyance shifted to intrigue, and by the next day, the firm had recovered the funds. Philippe called me in, his voice gruff but warm. "Good eyes. We need that." My promotion to administrative assistant wasn't just a title, it was a key to financial reports, client portfolios, and investment strategies. Numbers, with their unyielding logic, became my solace. A language I spoke fluently when people sometimes failed me. In my new role, I devoured data, filing reports while absorbing the pulse of European markets. 6 months into this life, I noticed a flaw in a client's telecom investment plan while preparing a conference room. The strategy screamed risk, built on a sector teetering under regulatory pressure. As Philippe and his advisors discussed, I hesitated at the door, then spoke. Pardon. But the telecom strategy last week's report showed 3 major firms facing challenges. The timing's off. The room stilled. An administrative assistant daring to weigh in. I pointed to the report's location, then braced for rebuke. Instead, Philippe studied the document, his eyes narrowing. You read everything on your desk. I nodded. It's educational. Dismissed. I spent the day certain I'd overstepped, but after hours, Philippe summoned me. How much do you know about markets? I admitted. More than a receptionist should. Less than I'd like. He leaned back. Would you consider analysis behind the scenes? For now, ambition flickered. Not just survival, but purpose. I'd like that. My role as a financial analyst opened new doors. Philippe introduced me to Tanner Reed, CEO of Atlantic Meridian Shipping. A man whose tailored suit and assessing blue eyes spoke of quiet power, tasked with reviewing his sprawling portfolio. I flagged Mediterranean port investments as risky due to labor unrest. Tanner challenged me. But when strikes crippled the region, his company thrived. My analysis vindicated. He requested me as a consultant. First 1 day a week, then more. Our work unfolding in his Paris apartment with Eiffel Tower views. During the 2023 market crash, I urged acquisitions over panic selling, a gamble that tripled Atlantic Meridian's value. Financial journals hailed it as genius. But Tanner knew the truth a woman once discarded had reshaped his empire. Our late-night sessions grew longer, hints of a deeper connection emerging. A bridge to a future I was only beginning to imagine. Paris had reshaped me, its cobblestone streets and shimmering lights weaving a new tapestry of who I could be. My work with Tanner Reed, now a rhythm of trust and strategy, had sparked something beyond spreadsheets, a cautious warmth that bloomed in shared glances and lingering conversations. Yet, the past, like a stubborn ghost, lingered in my dreams, whispering doubts. It would take a leap of heart and a final reckoning to claim the life I'd built, to prove to myself that I was no longer the woman left blindfolded in the dust. Tanner and I worked tirelessly, our evenings often spilling into dinners where talk of markets gave way to books and dreams. At a Tokyo conference, as he commanded a room of shipping tycoons, I saw him anew not just a CEO, but a man whose quiet strength mirrored my own. On the hotel's rooftop, Tokyo's skyline aglow, he spoke of victories. Feeling hollow alone, I confessed. I've spent years rebuilding trust in my judgment. His hand found mine, warm and steady. I'd never be something you fear. 6 months later, in a Paris courthouse, we exchanged vows. Philippe and his wife, our only witnesses. My ring, a band of twisted gold, was imperfect, resilient like me. The European press noted our union faintly. America, distracted by its chaos, paid no mind. 3 years into our marriage, we balanced life between Paris and Tanner's New York penthouse. My consulting role with Lambert Financial now focused on his ventures. One afternoon, in his office overlooking Central Park, an email pinged. Tanner's brow furrowed. Reynolds Construction, seeking investment, Midwest firm, struggling. My breath caught. EMTT's family business, the legacy he'd squandered. I steadied myself, meeting Tanner's gaze. That's my ex-husband's company. I want to be at the meeting not for revenge, but to close that chapter. He nodded, concern softening his eyes. Whatever you need. In our New York apartment, I chose a charcoal suit, its tailored lines exuding authority. pearl earrings from Tanner glinting with quiet pride, at Atlantic Meridian's Midtown Tower. I sat at the conference table, back to the door, with financial statements revealing EMTT's mismanagement. The door opened. Tanner's greeting crisp, followed by a voice that chilled me. "Thanks for seeing us." "Mr. Reed, I'm EMTT Reynolds." I let them settle, their pitch faltering on vague promises. Raising my head, I met EMTT's gaze. His confusion morphed into disbelief, color draining from his face. "Sydney?" he stammered. "Sydney Reed." I corrected, voice even. "Chief Strategic Advisor for Atlantic Meridian." And Tanner's wife, Marcus Clean. His advisor? Fumbled. But EMTT fixated on me. "You disappeared. We filed a missing person report. I slid a document across. Your debt ratio's unsustainable. We'd need signed contracts to consider investment." He ignored it. 3 years. Not a trace. "We thought you were dead." I gestured to the papers. Page 4. Details your cash flow issues. Tanner steered Marcus to their financial team, leaving us 3. EMTT's voice broke. Why? I leaned forward. Calm. "Because you left me at a gas station as a prank. Because I overheard you and Phoebe plotting to discard me. Because I deserve better." His face twisted, but I cut him off. "I'm not here for apologies. I came to prove you have no hold over me." The truth settled. Not forgiveness, but release. We declined the investment. EMTT's eyes reflecting what he'd lost. As the elevator doors closed, a weight lifted. My past severed by quiet strength. This life, built choice by choice, was mine. Not a reaction to him, but a creation of my own. Which moment in my journey speaks to you? My escape, my rise, or this final stand? Share below. And if my story stirs you, subscribe for more tales of triumph. Your support fuels our community of thrivers. The invitation sat on my desk, its gold-embossed letters winking under the soft glow of my San Francisco office lights. As if daring me to ignore it, "James and Victoria cordially invite you." My brother's wedding, the social spectacle of the year, promised to be a parade of wealth and ambition, orchestrated by my mother's relentless planning. Ava, 34 and perpetually underestimated, traced the edges of the card, wondering if I could dodge the inevitable judgment awaiting me in Napa Valley. 10 years ago, James had laughed in my face when I abandoned medical school for a tech startup, declaring I'd be a failure. Yet here I was, CEO of Atlas Industries, a $2 billion empire I'd forged in a Menlo Park garage. My success a secret I guarded like a hidden blade. Why reveal it to a family who saw me as a disappointment in jeans and hoodies? I leaned back in my chair, the city's skyline glittering through the floor-to-ceiling windows. A decade of 18-hour days, coding through nights fueled by coffee and stubborn dreams, had built Atlas from a flicker of an idea to a titan in tech. My family, though, remained oblivious, celebrating James's every corporate step at Chen Enterprises, Victoria's family business. While I toiled in obscurity, they thought I was a mid-level coder, scraping by. The irony curled my lips into a wry smile. "Miss Ava." My assistant Clara's voice cut through my thoughts, crisp and professional. "The board meeting starts in 5 minutes." I nodded, setting the invitation aside. "Also," she added, her tone neutral but eyes sharp, "Chen Enterprises sent the final contract for the semiconductor deal. They're expecting signatures by Friday. The $50 million deal, a lifeline for Chen Enterprises' floundering product line. And they had no clue they were negotiating with me. Atlas, through subsidiaries and holding companies, was their savior or their reckoning. I'd kept my ownership veiled, letting my Uncle Simon act as the public face while I pulled the strings. "Thank you." "Clara," I said, my voice steady. The wedding loomed this weekend, a 60-mile drive to Napa Valley, and part of me ached to skip it. My mother's voice echoed from her latest call, dripping with pride for James and disdain for me. "Your brother's marrying into the Chen family." "Ava, Do try to look presentable for once. Presentable. As if a billion-dollar company built in sneakers wasn't enough. I stood, smoothing my tailored blazer, and glanced at the invitation again. The memory of that Palo Alto dinner 10 years ago stung James's smirk as he told our parents I'd come crawling back when my startup failed. My father's silence. My mother's pursed lips. I hadn't crawled. I'd built, poured every dollar, every sleepless night, into Atlas, while James climbed Chen's corporate ladder. I'd acquired their suppliers, outmaneuvered their competitors, and turned Atlas into a name whispered in boardrooms. Yet to my family, I was the black sheep, the one who'd thrown away a real career. Clara lingered at the door. "Will you attend the wedding, Miss Ava?" Her question was polite, but her gaze held a knowing glint. She'd seen the contracts, knew the stakes. I picked up the invitation, its weight heavier than paper. "I wouldn't miss it," I said, a quiet edge to my voice. My mother wanted something presentable. Fine. I'd wear a simple black dress. Designer but subtle. The kind they'd never recognize. Let them underestimate me one last time. The decision settled like a stone in my chest. I'd go. Not for James or Victoria, but for myself. To face the family who'd dismissed me. To stand in their world of champagne and chandeliers. Knowing I held the power to upend it all. The semiconductor contract was just the beginning. Atlas's acquisitions, my silent chess moves, had positioned me to control Chen Enterprises' fate. As I headed to the boardroom, the city's pulse thrumming beyond the glass, I felt the familiar fire of purpose. Napa Valley awaited, and with it, a reckoning dressed in black. The Napa Valley sun bathed the vineyard in golden light. But as I stepped into the wedding's orbit, a chill settled over me. The estate sprawled before the church, a vision of opulence with 500 guests mingling under crystal chandeliers strung across ancient oaks. Champagne fountains bubbled, and flowers enough to choke a botanical garden framed the scene. Ava, 34 and a stranger in my family's world, smoothed my black dress, its subtle designer label invisible to those who valued flash over substance. Was this extravagance a celebration of love or a desperate bid to cement the Chen-Porter alliance? The answer hung in the air, sharp as the scent of roses. Ava. My mother's voice sliced through the courtyard's hum, her air kiss grazing my cheek without smudging her flawless makeup. "You came, and you look presentable." The word landed like a barb, her eyes flicking over my dress with faint disappointment. Behind her, my father stood deep in conversation with Mr. Chen, their laughter oblivious to the truth I held their business in my hands. "Where should I sit?" I asked, glancing at the ornate seating chart, its calligraphy a mockery of inclusion. My mother waved a manicured hand. "Oh, we had to shuffle things last minute. Victoria's family brought so many important guests, tech moguls. You understand." I understood perfectly. To them, I was the embarrassment. The dropout who'd forsaken medicine for a pipe dream. My mother turned away, already greeting a Bay Area venture capitalist. While I stood, the weight of their dismissal pressing harder, the church doors opened, and I slipped to the back, my heels silent on the stone floor. The ceremony began, a pageant of wealth. Victoria, radiant in her designer gown, glided down the aisle, and James beamed with the smug certainty of a man who thought he'd won life's game. I watched, a shadow among the glittering crowd, my mind drifting to Atlas Industries. 3 of Chen Enterprises' major suppliers now answered to me. The $50 million semiconductor deal was their lifeline, and they didn't know I held the plug. The irony was delicious, James marrying into what he thought was power, while I, the sister he'd mocked, controlled their fate. The vows echoed, syrupy and rehearsed, and I let my gaze wander to the stained glass windows, their colors fracturing the light. 10 years of slights replayed in my mind holiday dinners where I was excluded from photos for not dressing expensively enough. My mother's sighs when I mentioned my startup. As the couple kissed, applause erupted, and the crowd surged toward the reception hall. I lingered, scanning the seating chart again, hoping for a mistake. No Ava. My mother's vague wave haunted me. Important guests had taken my place. The sting was familiar, but sharper here. Amid the excess, I followed the throng. The vineyard's warmth fading as I entered the grand hall. Crystal gleamed. Laughter rang. And I searched for my name card among the silk-draped tables. Nothing. A prickle of humiliation crept up my spine. But I straightened. My dress a quiet armor. Victoria's voice, sweet as artificial honey, cut through my thoughts, looking for something. Ava. She stood behind me, her reception dress shimmering. Every inch the perfect bride. I turned, meeting her eyes. My seat? I said simply. Her smile didn't reach her gaze. Oh, didn't anyone tell you we had to prioritize? You'll find a lovely spot with the kitchen staff. The words landed like a slap. And a nearby guest stifled a laugh. At my brother's wedding, I was relegated to the margins. But as I stood there, the fire that built Atlas flared within me. They wanted me in the kitchen. Fine. I'd serve them a lesson they'd never forget. The Napa Valley reception hall shimmered with a brittle kind of perfection. As if one wrong note could shatter its crystal facade. Victoria's words, a lovely spot with the kitchen staff, hung in the air. Her saccharine smile daring me to flinch. The snickers from nearby guests. Silicon Valley's elite draped in tailored suits and sequins. Prickled my skin. But I stood rooted. My black dress a quiet defiance. A decade of their condescension surged through me, James's laughter at my dreams. My mother's sighs. The family photos that cropped me out. This was their stage. Their triumph. But I held the script. As Victoria turned away, her laughter trailing like perfume. I slipped my phone from my purse, my thumb hovering over a number that could unravel their world. Sis. James's voice slithered from behind. Champagne flute in hand, his tuxedo pristine. Don't make a scene. You've always known your place. His smirk. So like the one from that Palo Alto dinner years ago. Ignited something molten in my chest. My place, I'd built an empire while he played corporate prince. I met his gaze, steady and unyielding, and pressed the dial. Jack, I said into the phone, my voice clear, eyes locked on James. This is Ava. Cancel the semiconductor contract with Chen Enterprises. All $50 million of it. The line went silent for a heartbeat. Then Jack's crisp. Understood. Miss Ava. James's glass slipped, shattering on the marble floor. A jagged sound that stilled the nearby chatter. Victoria's smile froze, her eyes darting between us. What are you talking about? James demanded, his voice cracking. What contract? I tilted my phone. The Atlas Industries logo glowing on the screen. The $50 million deal your new father-in-law's been banking on. The one to save Chen Enterprises' quarter. The one my company was set to deliver. The color drained from James's face. His confident facade crumbling like cheap plaster. Atlas. He stammered, That's impossible. Atlas is a multi-billion-dollar company. I finished, my voice ablaze. One I built. James. While you and our parents decided I was a failure, Victoria grabbed my arm, her manicured nails biting. You're lying, she hissed, her bridal poise unraveling. Atlas is owned by Simon Porter. Everyone knows that. I smiled. Cool and deliberate. Simon's my uncle. A figurehead. I'm the one who calls the shots. Care to call him and check the ballroom's hum faded. Guests pausing mid-sip. Sensing the shift, James's eyes widened. A gray sheen creeping over his face. The semiconductors. He whispered, Dad Chen's entire expansion. Depends on me. I cut in. My tone even. Just like I know about your 3 failed product launches. The $200 million in debt. And how Chen Enterprises has been limping on borrowed time for 18 months. Victoria's father, David Chen, pushed through the crowd. His usual swagger faltering. What's this about our contract? He barked. His bow tie askew. I extended my hand. Calm as a still lake. Mr. Chen. We haven't been properly introduced. Ava, CEO of Atlas Industries. You might know me as SP Holdings from our negotiation calls. His face slackened. As if I'd struck him. You're SP, he choked. The one buying our suppliers. Guilty, I said, my smile sharp. Your due diligence team should have dug deeper. A quick background check would have linked me to Atlas. My mother shoved forward. Her face flushed with champagne and fury. Ava, stop this nonsense. You're ruining your brother's wedding. I opened my banking app. The screen glowing with Atlas's quarterly reports. Nonsense. Would you like to see the numbers? Mother or the ownership documents? James lunged, his fingers digging into my arm. Fix this. He growled. Whatever game you're playing. Fix it now. I held his gaze, unflinching, like you fixed things when I asked for a $1,000 loan to start Atlas. When you laughed and told me to get a real job. His grip faltered, and I pressed on, my voice low but lethal. Or should we discuss the $500? $500 you've been siphoning from Chen Enterprises to cover your gambling debts? Victoria gasped, her designer dress whispering as she whirled on him. You've been stealing from my father's company. The guests' murmurs grew, phones flashing as they recorded the implosion. Mr. Chen's face turned purple. Security. He roared. Get them out. I raised a hand, stopping the guards cold. I wouldn't. Unless you want Atlas to call in the $150 million in Chen Enterprises debt we now own. It'd be a shame if it all came due at once. The guards froze, power shifting like sand underfoot. Victoria sank onto a chair, her mascara streaking. This can't be happening, she whispered. Not at my wedding. I leaned in, my voice soft. The kitchen staff does have a lovely table. Victoria, perfect for a family in your new position. The silence was deafening. The ballroom a tableau of shocked faces and half-raised glasses. I turned, my heels clicking on the marble, and walked out, leaving chaos in my wake. The kitchen table they'd set for me had become their undoing, and I was just getting started. The Napa Valley night swallowed me as I stepped outside. The vineyard's cool air a sharp contrast to the ballroom's suffocating drama. My Tesla waited at the valet stand, understated and sleek, a far cry from James's flashy sports car. The chaos I'd left behind Victoria's sobs, Mr. Chen's shouts. My mother's frantic attempts to salvage dignity faded as I slid into the driver's seat. I'd toppled their house of cards with a single phone call, and the world would soon know, as my driver, Mike, pulled onto the 60-mile road back to San Francisco. The weight of what I'd done settled in, not regret, but clarity. The kitchen table had shown their true colors, and I'd painted mine in bold strokes. By Monday, the fallout was everywhere. The San Francisco Chronicle screamed, Chen Enterprises stock plummets 40% amid embezzlement scandal, while the Wall Street Journal dissected James's $500 theft. His name now synonymous with disgrace. Victoria, ever the pragmatist, filed for annulment within days. Her socialite dreams too fragile for a sinking dynasty. Atlas Industries moved swiftly, absorbing Chen Enterprises' valuable patents and supply chains in a $300 million deal, stripping away their bloated management. Starting with James's department, my office, high above San Francisco's skyline, buzzed with activity. My team executing the takeover with surgical precision. I watched the city's lights, a silent victor in a game my family never knew I was playing. My parents' voicemails piled up, a digital trail of their unraveling. The first was sharp, my mother's voice hissing. How could you humiliate us like this? My father's gruff call us. Ava, we need to talk. By the third day, their tone softened. Please, creeping in. We didn't know. Ava, please, let's fix this. I didn't reply. Not yet. My focus was Aeon-Tlas. Its $2 billion valuation climbing as we reshaped Chen's assets into something leaner, stronger. The Palo Alto social circle that once fawned over my parents now whispered behind their backs. their country club invitations drying up. James, I heard, had fled to their guest room, his corporate crown tarnished. Each morning, I sat at my desk. The garage workbench from my Menlo Park days a quiet reminder of the nights I'd coded through doubt. Clara, my assistant, filtered the flood of media requests. Her efficiency a shield against the noise. Another reporter. She said one afternoon, holding up a post-it, "They're calling you the tech titan who toppled Chen." I waved it away. Labels didn't matter. What mattered was the work building. Not gloating, yet the voicemails kept coming. My mother's voice cracking in the latest Ava. "We're sorry. Just talk to us." I deleted it. My heart a fortress. But a flicker of curiosity stirred. What would they say? Face to face. Stripped of their illusions. The question lingered as I signed off on Atlas's latest acquisition. A $50 million supplier deal that sealed Chen's fate. The kitchen table's lesson echoed true colors show under pressure. My family had shown theirs. But what would they do with the ruins? As I leaned back, the city's pulse thrumming beyond my window, I sensed the story wasn't over. The next move wasn't mine. It was theirs. 3 months after the Napa Valley wedding, a faint scent of expensive perfume drifted into my San Francisco office, pulling me from a quarterly report. The door opened, and there stood my mother. Her designer coat a touch faded, her posture less certain than I'd ever seen. Had she come to beg? To blame? Or to bridge the chasm I'd carved with a single phone call? The voicemail's angry. Then pleading had stopped a week ago. And now she faced me. A stranger in the empire I'd built. I set my tablet down. The silence between us heavy. As if the kitchen table's shadow loomed over us both. She sat uninvited, clutching her purse. The receptionist didn't recognize me. She said, her voice soft, "I had to show ID to prove I was your mother." I nodded. Leaning back, security's tight since the takeover. We've had curious visitors. Her eyes, once sharp with judgment, flickered with something new regret. "Perhaps your father and I. We've been thinking," she began, "about how we misjudged you, how we failed to see your strength." I raised an eyebrow, unmoved. And what prompted this clarity? The headlines, the country club snubs. She flinched, a tear tracing her powdered cheek. "We were wrong. Ava, we chased James's flash, not your substance. We're proud of you, even if we don't deserve to be." Pride. The word felt hollow after years of their dismissal. Proud now that it's visible. I said, my voice steady, but when I was coding in a Menlo Park garage, scraping by, "Would you have cared?" She shook her head, voice breaking. "No, and that's our shame." I stood, crossing to the window. San Francisco's skyline, a testament to my grit. Her words stirred no warmth, only questions. What did family mean when trust had been a one-way street? I pressed a button on my phone. "Clara, bring the package for Mrs. Porter." My assistant delivered a thick envelope, which I handed to my mother. "What's this?" she asked, fingers trembling as she opened it. A chance. I said, "Details for Atlas's $50, $100 small business loan program, listings for affordable Oakland storefronts, and contacts for honest advisors. Build something real. If you're willing to work." Her eyes widened, scanning the papers. "You'd offer this after everything?" I met her gaze, unflinching. "It's not helpful. It's an opportunity. No shortcuts, no favors. Earn it, like I did." She nodded, clutching the envelope, and left with a whispered, "Thank you." As the door closed, I glanced at my old workbench. Its scars a reminder the kitchen table taught me who valued me, and who didn't. A year after the wedding, I stood on a Silicon Valley stage, the spotlight warm against my skin. 1,000 eyes fixed on me at the annual tech summit. Was I the tech titan who toppled Chen, as the headlines crowed, or simply a woman who'd refused to stay at the kitchen table? My keynote loomed, a chance to shape how the world saw Atlas Industries and me. The auditorium buzzed. venture capitalists and coders alike waiting for my words. But my mind drifted to a moment months earlier, when I'd sat with a young entrepreneur in an Oakland cafe, her eyes bright with the same hunger I'd once known. That mentee, Sophia, had pitched her startup with trembling hands. Her $25 year-on-dollars seed funding from Atlas now fueling a thriving app for underserved communities. "You believed in me," she'd said, her success a mirror to my Menlo Park nights. When belief was all I had, I'd mentored her through setbacks, sharing lessons forged in my crucible. Trust your vision. Ignore the noise. Now, as I adjusted the mic, I spoke to the crowd, my voice steady. Success isn't a headline or a dollar sign. It's building something that lasts, something true. I learned that at a kitchen table, where facades fall and character holds. The applause was thunderous. But my thoughts turned to my family. James, no longer the gilded son, had sent a note from his San Jose analyst job. His words, simple. Thanks for the wake-up call. His humility, earned through honest work, surprised me. My parents' Palo Alto boutique, funded by a $20 Atlas loan, had become a local gem, their hands now calloused from effort, not entitlement. They'd learned, as I had, that value outshines vanity. I paused, the crowd leaning in. Today, I'm announcing a $1 million scholarship for underrepresented tech founders, because the next big idea deserves a chance, not a pedigree. The room erupted, phones flashing, the moment cementing Atlas's mark. Back in my office, I sat at my workbench, its worn surface grounding me as I sketched plans for a $500 million AI division. Atlas's next frontier. The headlines had faded. Chen Enterprises a footnote. Victoria a distant memory, but my work endured. Sophia's app trended on the App Store. My parents' boutique drew crowds. James clocked honest hours. I traced a scratch on the wood, a relic of my garage days. The kitchen table hadn't just exposed my family's flaws, it had revealed my strength. A compass for every choice since success. I realized wasn't toppling empires or silencing doubters. It was building one step, one coder, one scholarship at a time. As San Francisco's lights glittered beyond my window, I saw not just a city, but a canvas for what came next. The kitchen table was behind me, but its lesson truth over illusion propelled me forward. My legacy not in what I'd torn down, but in what I'd built, and would build still. What does it feel like when the family you've poured your heart into turns you away at the doorstep, suitcase still in hand? With the scent of homemade cookies lingering in the air, I learned the answer on a crisp November evening in 2025, standing in my daughter Olivia's immaculate kitchen in Riverdale Heights, Connecticut. The sting of rejection wasn't just a moment. It was a fracture, a quiet unraveling of everything I thought I knew about love and loyalty. My name is Sophie Bennett, and at 58, I was about to discover how far ambition could erode the bonds I'd spent decades nurturing. If this story resonates with you, let me know where you're tuning in from. And stick around, there's more to come that you won't want to miss. The 6-hour drive from Cedar Falls, Maine, had been filled with anticipation. I'd packed carefully wrapped gifts for my grandchildren, Max and Emma, and a tin of my signature molasses cookies, the ones Olivia used to sneak before dinner as a child. The colonial house on Willow Lane gleamed under the autumn dusk, its manicured lawn a testament to Brandon's relentless pursuit of perfection. Olivia greeted me with a tight smile, her eyes darting to Brandon, who stood by the marble island, his practiced charm as polished as the countertop. "Sophie," he began, his voice smooth as a salesman's. "We've been meaning to talk about Thanksgiving." The air shifted, heavy with unspoken intent. They'd been invited to the Whitleys for an intimate dinner. Brandon explained, his smile never reaching his eyes. Richard Whitley, a real estate magnate, was key to his next project. And the guest list was exclusive, too exclusive for me. Olivia stared at the floor, her silence louder than any apology. "What about Christmas?" I asked. My voice barely above a whisper. Brandon cleared his throat. His mother arranged a Vermont ski trip. Already paid for. I nodded. The weight of exclusion settling like frost. Max and Emma, oblivious in the backyard, waved through the window. Their laughter a cruel contrast to the ache in my chest. I remember the grocery bags still on the counter. Cranberries spilling like tiny accusations. Where should I go? Olivia, I asked, searching my daughter's face for the girl who once clung to me during thunderstorms. Brandon answered instead, suggesting the Riverside Hotel's holiday package or a trip to my sister, who'd passed 3 years ago, a detail he'd conveniently forgotten. Olivia's whispered mom. Wait was drowned by his firm, let her process. I hugged Max and Emma tightly, promising to call on Christmas. Their confused faces burning into my memory as I drove away. The Riverside Hotel's lobby was festive, all twinkling lights and forced cheer. But my room felt like a tomb. For 34 years, holidays had meant family. Daniel's quiet laughter, Olivia's chatter, the warmth of shared traditions. Now, alone. I ate a solitary turkey breast and watched parades on a muted television. The cranberry relish I'd made tasting of regret. Daniel and I had built a modest life, teaching and advising, saving every penny for Olivia's future. She'd always dreamed bigger, pointing at glossy magazines, declaring she'd live in grand houses. We'd smiled, proud yet wary, never imagining her ambitions would cast me aside. As December loomed, I scheduled brief visits with Max and Emma, always on Brandon's terms parks, not their home. The holidays passed in a blur of solitude, each rejection a reminder of my disposability, but something stirred within me, a resolve Daniel would have recognized. This wouldn't be my story's end. Little did I know. Brandon's next move would test that resolve in ways I couldn't yet fathom. 3 weeks after Christmas, as I unpacked my sparse Riverdale Heights apartment, my phone buzzed with Brandon's name, his voice, warm and edged with a desperation I hadn't heard before, sliced through the January chill. Sophie, we've missed you, he said, the lie as smooth as polished glass. I'd spent the holidays exiled, yet here he was, claiming kinship. My heart, still raw from Thanksgiving's wound, braced for what came next. At 58, I'd learned to listen for the unspoken, and Brandon's call carried a purpose heavier than pleasantries. This was no reconciliation, it was a transaction, and I was about to learn its price. He wasted little time. The Grayson estate on Lakeview Drive is hitting the market, he announced, his excitement barely contained. 7 bedrooms, an indoor pool, 3 acres of lakefront perfection, a $2 million dream to cement our place in Riverdale society. I listened, my fingers tracing the edge of my modest dining table, as he painted a future of prestige for Olivia, Max E., and Emma. Then came the pivot. They needed a co-signer with substantial assets to secure the mortgage. It's a formality, he assured. My riverfront project will cover the payments. I asked why his mother, Diane, couldn't co-sign. His smile, audible through the phone, tightened. Her finances are complex, asset-rich, cash-poor. I thought of Daniel, my husband, whose cautious investments had built our modest security. We'd given Olivia everything: a Dartmouth education, an internship, a wedding we couldn't afford. When they bought their colonial, we'd contributed $150, sorrow dollars, nearly half our retirement savings, believing it was an investment in their future. Brandon's promises of repayment had faded like morning mist. Yet here he was, asking for more. If the project fails, I pressed, what happens to my savings? His irritation flared. Nothing's failing. Sophie, this is guaranteed. But Daniel's voice echoed in my mind. Nothing in real estate is guaranteed. Olivia called later. Her voice strained. Mom, this house means everything to us. The kids would have space, opportunities. Her words tugged at my heart. But her hesitation betrayed doubt. I promised to consider it. Needing time to think, that evening, I dialed James Whitaker. Daniel's longtime business partner. His warmth steadied me as I outlined Brandon's request. After a pause, he revealed a truth that stopped my breath. Daniel had created a trust, maturing 9 months after his death, now worth $2 million. He knew Brandon would come for your money. James said, this was his gift, your freedom. The revelation reshaped my perspective. I wasn't just a retired teacher with a pension. I had options. Power. Co-signing would risk everything Daniel had safeguarded, tethering my future to Brandon's reckless ambition. I texted Brandon the next morning, arranging a meeting at their home. Olivia greeted me with nervous enthusiasm, offering coffee from their gleaming machine. Brandon spread glossy photos of the Grayson estate across the table. His pitch relentless. It's $9 million if we move fast. He said, your signature seals it. I set down my cup, my decision clear. I won't co-sign. I said, my voice steady. It's not a sound financial choice for me. Brandon's face flushed, his charm crumbling. You're choosing your bank account over your daughter's future. Olivia's eyes widened, but she said nothing. I'm choosing stability. I countered. For myself and your family. The silence was deafening, a chasm widening between us. As I left, Brandon's parting words stung. Don't expect things to stay the same, Sophie. I drove back, the weight of his threat mingling with the strange calm. Daniel's trust wasn't just money, it was armor. And I'd need it for the battles ahead. How do you measure the moment a daughter reclaims her voice? Peeling back years of compromise to face a truth she's long avoided in late January 2026. I stood in my modest Riverdale Heights apartment, watching Olivia step through my door with Max and Emma, her eyes carrying a flicker of defiance I hadn't seen since her teenage years. The air was thick with unspoken apologies. But beneath her hesitant smile lay a resolve that promised change. If you're following this journey, let me know where you're tuning in from. There's more unfolding. And you'll want to hear what comes next. Olivia's visit came days after I refused to co-sign Brandon's mortgage, a decision that had left their colonial house silent with tension. She clutched a crumpled bakery box, Max and Emma thrusting it toward me with grins. Chocolate with sprinkles, Max declared, his enthusiasm a balm against the chill of Brandon's parting threat. As the children explored my sparse living room, Olivia's voice dropped. I'm sorry about Thanksgiving. Mom, it wasn't my idea. Her words, slurred slightly from nerves, carried the weight of months spent navigating Brandon's ambitions. She described the Whitley's dinner, ostentatious, hollow, a parade of wealth that left her longing for my cranberry relish instead. The conversation shifted when Emma asked why I lived here. Not with them. Olivia flinched as Max added, Daddy said you're too busy for us now. The manipulation, woven into their innocent questions, ignited a spark of fury. I knelt to their level, promising I'd never be too busy, my gaze locking with Olivia's, in the kitchen, as I prepared hot chocolate. She confessed the truth she'd uncovered. Brandon's financial house was crumbling. A forgotten mail pile revealed overdue notices, 6 maxed-out credit cards, a second mortgage taken without her consent, and withdrawals from Max and Emma's college funds. He lied about paying their school tuition, she whispered, her hands trembling around a mug. I've booked a financial advisor for Monday. I'd kept my secret. A $875 $0 condominium purchased in Riverdale's town center. Its high ceilings and proximity to parks a quiet assertion of my independence. I hadn't told Olivia, wary of Brandon's reaction, but her courage deserved honesty. Over the children's chatter, I shared my plans to stay in Connecticut permanently. Her eyes widened. A mix of relief and confusion. How can you afford that, she asked. Careful planning, I replied, sidestepping Daniel's trust. It's for our family's future. She nodded, a tentative smile breaking through. Days later, Brandon's suspicion surfaced. He invited me to dinner, his charm as calculated as ever. The table gleamed with Olivia's rosemary chicken. But his agenda was clear. Westlake Shores, a new lakefront development, lots start at $1 million, he said, sliding photos of sprawling estates across the table. With your resources, Sophie. We could secure the premier lot. My condominium purchase had tipped his hand. He believed I held hidden wealth. I declined, citing the instability of his plans. His face darkened, his voice cutting. Olivia married me to escape your small life. She deserves more than your penny-pinching caution. Olivia's gasp echoed my shock. Her silence a fracture in their united front. As I left, the children's drawings of their dream rooms at my new condo lingered in my mind. Olivia's whispered promise to call about a science museum outing felt like a lifeline. She was waking up, seeing Brandon's transactional heart. But his desperation was growing. I sensed a storm brewing, one that would test our fragile bond. The financial advisor's revelations, I hoped, would give Olivia the clarity to act. But Brandon's next move would push us all to the edge. When does a family dispute cross into warfare? Where love becomes a bargaining chip and trust a casualty. By February 2026, I felt the battle lines harden in Olivia and Brandon's dining room, surrounded by financial statements that exposed a betrayal deeper than I'd imagined. The air was taut. Olivia's newfound strength clashing with Brandon's unraveling control. This wasn't just about money. It was about who we were to each other. And I was about to learn how far Brandon would go to claim what he believed was his. The financial advisor's meeting had been a reckoning. Olivia called me to their colonial, her voice tight. It's worse than I thought. Mom, I need you here. I arrived to find Brandon at the dining table. Papers strewn like wreckage bank statements. Credit card bills. Investment losses. Olivia stood rigid, her words slicing through the tension. 6 credit cards maxed out. A second mortgage you never told me about. College funds drained for your business. Brandon's defense was weak. A shrug of temporary setbacks. But Olivia's fury was unyielding. Don't blame my mother for your mess. She snapped when he tried to pivot to my refusal to co-sign. I'm done with lies. We need transparency. Credit counseling. Or I file for separation. Brandon's mask slipped, his gaze turning to me. Sophie's resources could stabilize us, he said, his tone a mix of plea and accusation. A family loan. Olivia cut him off. She's not fixing this. We are. Her ultimatum stunned him: complete financial overhaul or legal separation. His shock morphed into calculation, and he pivoted to a new tactic. Your mother's windfall, he said, eyes narrowing. Convenient. After Daniel's death, Whitaker stonewalled me when I asked about his estate. The accusation that I was hiding wealth meant for Olivia hung like a guillotine. I held my ground. My finances are private. Brandon, unlike yours with your wife, his retaliation came swiftly. By week's end, he filed a challenge to Daniel's trust, claiming my husband lacked mental capacity when establishing it. The audacity was breathtaking. A desperate bid to force disclosure of the $4 and $2 million I'd guarded. I called Thomas Chen, our family lawyer, who assured me the trust was ironclad, backed by Daniel's videotaped intentions. But the threat of litigation loomed, a tactic to pressure my resolve. Then came Diane Parker's visit. An unexpected escalation. She appeared at my condominium, her designer scarf a stark contrast to her cold purpose. Family resources should benefit everyone, she said, her smile as brittle as ice. She implied Daniel's estate held undisclosed assets, suggesting I owed Olivia and the grandchildren. When I countered that Brandon's debts credit cards, secret mortgages were his own making. Her composure cracked. You're making a mistake, she warned, hinting at public estate challenges that would expose every decision, every relationship. I ushered her out, my heart pounding, but my resolve firm. Olivia's strength grew amidst the chaos. She secured a marketing job with a nonprofit, her resume polished with newfound purpose. She scouted apartments, planning a move to live within their means. Our outings with Max and Emma ice cream. Botanical gardens became sanctuaries. Though Brandon's absence was telling, his investor meetings masked a volatile temper. Olivia confided. Strained by the riverfront project's delays, she was building a life apart from his control. But his legal threats cast a shadow. I met Thomas again, documenting every interaction, Diane's veiled threats, Brandon's accusations. He's counting on emotional leverage, Thomas warned, advising vigilance to protect my bond with Max and Emma. As Olivia prepared her separation papers, I braced for Brandon's next move, knowing his desperation could fracture us further. Yet, in her courage and the children's laughter, I found hope that our family's heart could endure. What happens when a family's fracture forces a reckoning? Not with anger, but with pragmatism forged in the crucible of truth. In March 2026, I sat in Thomas Chen's office, the air heavy with the scent of leather and resolve. As Diane Parker's calculated composure met my guarded hope, Brandon's legal threats had pushed us to the brink, but Olivia's courage was reshaping our path. If this story's twists have gripped you, click the links on your screen for more tales of resilience. You won't want to miss what's next. Diane's call came days after her chilling visit, her tone softer, edged with pragmatism. This litigation is excessive, she admitted, requesting a meeting to resolve family matters. I agreed, but only with Thomas and James Whitaker present, their expertise a shield against manipulation. In the office, Diane's impeccable silk blouse belied her weariness. Brandon's trust challenge risks embarrassment, she said, her voice clipped. The custody petition was a mistake. Her concern for appearances was predictable, but her acknowledgement of Brandon's weak position was new. Thomas pressed. What resolution do you propose? Diane suggested education trusts for Max and Emma, independent of Brandon's control, to secure their future without fueling his ambitions. The idea resonated. I'd always planned to support my grandchildren through college funds, museum trips, bedtime stories, not Brandon's lakefront fantasies. I'll consider trusts, I replied, but only with strict oversight. Over 2 hours, we crafted a framework, $500, $0 per child, managed by a neutral trustee, accessible solely for tuition and educational expenses. Diane nodded, her relief palpable. Brandon, she confided, was faltering. Investors had abandoned his riverfront project, leaving him desperate. The trusts offered a face-saving exit from his legal gambit. Days later, Brandon withdrew the trust challenge, his agreement grudging but final. Diane's influence, paired with Thomas's assurance that Daniel's videotaped intentions were unassailable, forced his hand. Olivia, meanwhile, was carving her path. She signed a lease on a cozy apartment in Riverdale's east side, its modest rent a stark contrast to their Colonial's crushing mortgage. Her marketing job with the nonprofit brought a quiet pride. Her first paycheck was a symbol of independence. It's small, she told me, showing photos of the sunlit living room. But it's ours. Max and Emma adapted with resilience, and their weekend sleepovers at my condominium were filled with board games and laughter. I hosted them often, my new home a haven of stability. One evening, as Emma sketched constellations on my balcony, Olivia confided that co-parenting with Brandon was tense but manageable. He'd agreed to sell the Colonial. His pride bruised, but his options limited. He's still charming when it suits him, she said, her voice wary. But I see through it now. I squeezed her hand, marveling at her strength. The trusts, finalized that week, ensured Max and Emma's education, a legacy Daniel would have cherished, free from Brandon's reach. Yet, the victory felt bittersweet. Brandon's retreat didn't erase the scars of his manipulations, and Olivia's separation loomed as a reminder of love's fragility. Still, our family was knitting itself anew. Thread by thread, Max's science projects, Emma's dance recitals, Olivia's tentative steps toward authenticity, they were the true inheritance, more enduring than any trust. As spring bloomed, I sensed a shift, a quiet promise that our story wasn't over. The battles had clarified what mattered, and I was ready to embrace whatever came next, with Max and Emma's laughter as my compass. How do you weigh the worth of a family rebuilt? Not on wealth, but on the quiet strength of truths hard-won. By August 2026, I stood on my condominium's balcony, the Riverdale Heights sunset casting golden hues over the garden where Max and Emma played. Olivia sat beside me, her shoulders unburdened by the weight of appearances. Her smile a testament to 6 months of transformation. The journey from holiday rejection to this moment of peace was a tapestry of loss and redemption, and its lessons lingered like the evening's fading light. Below, Emma chased a butterfly, her delight a melody against the hum of cicadas. Max, engrossed in a stone fortress, called out engineering ideas. His confidence blossoming in this new chapter. Olivia sipped her tea, her voice soft. I need to thank you, Mom, for not writing a check to fix everything. Her words caught me off guard. If you'd bailed us out, she continued, I'd still be trapped, measuring my worth by Brandon's dreams. I looked at her, seeing the daughter who'd once planned marketing campaigns with flair, now rediscovering her compass. The past months had been a crucible. Olivia's separation was finalized, and the colony was sold at a modest profit, easing their debts. She thrived in her nonprofit role, her design course sparking ideas for a future beyond Brandon's shadow. Max and Emma split time between her apartment and Brandon's smaller rental, their routines anchored by my condominium's open door. Brandon, chastened by his project's collapse, was quieter, his charm tempered by necessity. He attended Emma's recitals, but his calls to Olivia carried a cautious distance. As if testing boundaries she'd firmly set, I thought of Daniel, whose trust had been more than money. It was a shield, a declaration of my worth. The $4, $2 million, now yielding steady income. Let me buy this home, host my grandchildren, and plan for their future without fear. But the real gift was clarity. Your father would be proud, I told Olivia, my voice catching, not just of you, but of us, for choosing what lasts. She nodded, her eyes glistening. He'd say we honored the real legacy love that doesn't bend to pressure. The trusts for Max and Emma, now active, were a quiet victory, ensuring college without Brandon's interference. Yet, the true inheritance lived in moments like this. Emma's laughter, Max's curiosity, Olivia's reclaimed strength. Brandon's attempts to monetize our bonds had failed, not because of legal defenses, but because we'd chosen authenticity over illusion. The holidays that once exiled me now loomed as opportunities. Thanksgiving at my table, Christmas with Olivia's recipes, Max and Emma's gifts under my tree. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I felt a profound gratitude. The battles had forged us, revealing the fragility and resilience of family. Olivia reached for my hand, her touch a bridge across the pain we'd navigated. We're okay, aren't we? She asked. More than okay, I replied, watching Max and Emma race toward us, their joy a beacon. The future was ours to shape. Rooted in values no ambition could erode, we'd learned to guard what mattered. And in that guarding, we'd found freedom.